give us the marriage between nutrition and skin and what kinds of things we need to be looking for.
Yeah, it's exactly as you explained. I mean, it really reflects how you are health-wise. What we need to think about with the nutrition is, there's certain things that we need to eat for skin health and certain things that we should avoid. One, the big culprits for skin health is sugar. Sugar isn't good for your skin. I mean, it isn't particularly good it's not good for anything really, is it? But we're talking about skin today. And skin health, there's actually something called sugar sag. If someone has a high sugar diet, the skin becomes like saggy. And you find that you'll get puffiness around the eye area. And you can also get discoloration on the skin through high sugar diet. So sugar is a no-no for skin health.
Hi, I'm Glennis Woods Mullins, and I love to help women to vibe, to be more vibrant, intuitive, beautiful, and empowered in midlife. So come on, let's vibe. Years ago, my husband and I had relocated temporarily to Dallas, Texas. No shade on Dallas, Texas. Love Dallas, Texas, but the water did not agree with my skin. And it was so dried out, and I was trying to figure out what the heck is going on.
And don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment, and share this podcast. Have a fantastic day, and don't forget to vibe. Bye-bye,
I was in the throes of menopause. So today we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about menopause and also how it might impact our skin with Alison Bladh. Alison is an award-winning registered nutritional therapist and esthetician and has dedicated over 30 years to enhancing women's health and wellness with a particular focus on perimenopause, menopause, and beyond. And her approach blends the whole dietary issues along with health and mindset and lifestyle strategies to help support women as they go through menopause and midlife. I asked her today if we could talk specifically about something I know that she particularly loves to do, and that's working with women and their skin during that midlife phase when it just seems to be doing all kinds of things. Alison, welcome to the V.I.B.E Living Podcast. It's wonderful to have you here today.
Oh, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
Absolutely. So first of all, tell me how you got to marry being an esthetician and a nutritionist. What came first?
Yeah, a good question. I started off as a beauty esthetician, which is really a posh word for beauty therapist. Because long story short, I had very bad acne when I was a teenager. And that kind of led me down the path of, I didn't want to take medications. I wanted to find out, even at that age, is there anything holistic that I can do to help my skin? And then I became very fascinated in skin health, because what I did actually really helped my skin, and trained to be an esthetician. And then I very soon came to realize that aesthetic treatments are great, products are great, but you need the inside piece. You need the nutrition as well. So that's when I went back and studied nutritional therapy, and it combines beautifully, because your skin, you see in someone's skin if they're glowing almost, aren't they? If they're feeling well and they're healthy and happy, you really do see that in people's skin.
People ask me all the time what it is that I do with my skin, and it's really simple. I kind of stopped using over-the-counter products when I had that incident in Dallas, Texas, and I decided to figure out what I could do holistically for my skin. And the first thing I looked at was, what was I eating? How had things changed when I got to Dallas? I'm not a meat eater, never have been. I haven't been a meat eater for like almost over 30 years. So it wasn't that changed, but what did change was I wasn't eating as organically as I was when I was in California. The sourcing was a little different in Dallas. So I kind of went for the okie doke, maybe frozen vegetables, which is not necessarily bad, but a steady diet of that, if that's not what your body's used to, may not be great. And I wasn't being able to get some of the organic stuff I used to like to get. I was having problems finding it. So I began to think, well, does that have something to do with it? And I also took a look at the kind of water I was drinking. I didn't drink Dallas water, but I was drinking some other water, which wasn't the same as the water that I had been drinking in California. And there were just little tweaks here and there. But mostly though, I noticed that the combination of the kind of water that was in Dallas versus the products that I was using was not a good match, because it just totally dried out my skin. I mean, I woke up one morning, literally, Allison, and I had little wrinkled, crepey skin all on my forehead and all through here. And I was like, oh my God. And at that time I was not quite 60. So I said, oh my God, the aging process has begun. But I was able to roll it back. So explain to us the marriage between nutrition and skin and what kinds of things we need to be looking for.
Yeah, it's exactly as you explained. I mean, it really reflects how you are health-wise. And before I start, I must say you have amazing skin. Your skin looks beautiful, really, really fantastic skin. But what we need to think about with the nutrition is that, you know, there's certain things that we need to eat for skin health and certain things that we should avoid. And one, you know, of the big culprits for skin health is sugar. You know, sugar isn't good for your skin. I mean, it isn't particularly good well, it's not good for anything really, is it? But we're talking about skin today. And skin health, there's actually something called sugar sag. Now, I know that sounds horrible, but what it basically is, without getting too technical, it's a process that happens in the body that's called glycation. Now, glycation, if you have a high sugar diet, and you've got a lot of excess sugar in your bloodstream, what happens is it combines with protein. And when they combine together, they produce a product that we don't want, advanced glycation end products. And these break down collagen and elastin. So you can actually see in the skin, if someone has a high sugar diet, the skin becomes like saggy. And you find that you'll get puffiness around the eye area. And you can also get discoloration on the skin through high sugar diets. So sugar is a no-no for skin health.
That's what I'm going to stop you right there real quickly, because that's very interesting, because you're right. Sugar basically is poison. It just absolutely is. But that made me think about something. One of the things that I took advantage of when I was in Dallas was all those home-baked sweets. You know, we had a couple of friends who lived down there, and they made all their cakes and stuff from scratch. And I've never been a big dessert or cake eater, but I had lemon pound cake almost every day for like a month. And at the end of that month, that's when all this stuff started showing up. I didn't tie it to sugar, but I did stop eating it because I said, what am I doing? I had gained weight. What am I doing? But yes, that was one of the things that was a direct correlation to what was going on with my skin, but I didn't tie it to the sugar. So that's amazing.
Yeah, sugar, you can really see, amongst other things, but that when we're looking specifically at the skin, sugar plays a big role in skin health. And another area when we think about nutrition is, again, this isn't an area that you necessarily think about with the skin, but it's gut health. You know, your digestion, your digestive tract. You know, you need to feed that with lots of lovely fiber-rich foods and protein and healthy fats. Because if you're suffering from, you know, problems with your gut or digestive tract, that can be seen in the skin. There is something called, I don't know if you've heard of something called leaky gut.
Oh, yes. I have a certification in gut health, so I know exactly what you're talking about. But let's talk about that, because a lot of people hear about gut health, but I also hear a lot of misinformation about gut health. So explain to us what a leaky gut is.
Yeah, leaky gut, it doesn't sound very pleasant, does it? But what it basically is, that the walls of your intestine are actually very thin, and they're made up of cells. And when you suffer from, it's also called intestinal permeability, because, you know, this is the passage for all the food that you've eaten to go through your digestion. But what happens with leaky gut is that it's like a bit like a brick wall, if you think, but the gaps between the wall become bigger. It's not solid anymore. And little particles of food and what you've been digesting can escape out of the walls of the gut into the circulation. Mm. And this can cause many symptoms. But when we look at the skin, it can be seen as allergies, irritation, redness, itchy skin, all of a sudden just breakouts for no reason. Mm-hmm. So health is paramount to skin health. And why do we get leaky gut? What is that to do with it? There's many different factors, but things like stress, again going back to a diet high in ultra processed foods, high sugar foods, all of those things irritate the lining of the gut. And if you're vulnerable to food sensitivities or you have allergies to certain things, then your gut will be more sensitive. So what you want to do, it doesn't have to be difficult. Eat a diet full of just nourishing whole foods. You want to get rid of all these packaged ultra processed foods that have so many different ingredients on them. I mean, I say to my clients, if you can't understand what the ingredient is, then you most probably shouldn't be eating it.
Very good rule of thumb. I absolutely agree. It's interesting because here in the States, we have something called the standard American diet. I call it, and so do some other folks, the SAD diet, because it is the antithesis of so many things that are going on in our country when it comes to our overall health. Exacerbated chronic disease, especially like type 2 diabetes, those inflated bellies, skin issues. A lot of people are suffering from psoriasis, acne, so many things. And it's tied directly to, I feel, two things: our diet and the pace within which we live our lives. Stress, which is the culprit. And I'm going to start talking about stress from an emotional standpoint, but also from a chemical standpoint in hormones and cortisol, and how cortisol impacts our overall skin health. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying. I mean, stress is so detrimental for our health, isn't it? And we live in a society where everybody seems to be suffering from chronic stress. It's terrible for our health. But when we think of skin health and stress, again, you see that in people when they're very stressed. They're constantly in this stressed state. Mm-hmm. Your body feels it's under attack. We're quite primitive, really. I think the society that we're living in now, our bodies weren't really made for that, were they? Things have moved so quickly that there's so much technology, there's so much of everything everywhere. And when we have constant stress, our body releases stress hormones, cortisol being one of them. And cortisol has many different effects, and it's detrimental when it's long term. And it can be seen in the skin as, again, you've got quite high cortisol makes you release sugar into the system. It increases your blood sugar levels. Absolutely. So you're kind of going down this, the sugar sag, the sugar route again. And also high cortisol levels store fat. Cortisol actually is a fat storing hormone. So if you're constantly stressed, it's very difficult if you're looking at weight management to lose weight. But it's seen in the skin. The skin becomes stressed, it becomes dry, becomes irritated, because your whole body is up in this kind of like stressful mode that you really can't treat the skin successfully if someone is very, very stressed. I've seen that in my clients working with treatments on them.
Yeah, it's really interesting because we have a tendency to tie stress just to the whole emotional thing, but it impacts every area of our health in ways. Like, for instance, you mentioned the thing about the stress and the glucose levels rising, and many times that's what can throw people right into that type 2 diabetes diagnosis. And now you're on this whole nother trail of more medication being introduced to your system that can also impact your stress. But let's talk about something else that impact your skin health. But there's something else that I see a lot in the stores, and I want to get your opinion on this and whether or not this is something we should be doing as midlife women. I see so many things about collagen supplements, collagen powders, collagen in the makeup that you use or whatever. What is collagen? Why is it important? And do any of these things work?
Yeah, I get asked that question a lot. Now, collagen, if you think collagen is in our skin, amongst other parts of the body, and that's really what gives your skin this lovely plump look. It's like the building blocks of the skin, collagen and elastin. And as we get older, especially when we come into menopause, because of the decline in estrogen, it really affects our collagen. We lose collagen basically quite considerably. So that's when we start seeing the fine lines and wrinkles. Collagen supplements, it's the same. I mean, I live in Europe. It's the same. It's become this very in thing, hasn't it, to take collagen supplements. Now, when I talk about anything to do with this, I talk about evidence-based.
Right.
You know, I look at what the research is saying. And when we look at research for collagen, and now we're talking collagen supplements, it's predominantly the effects that they've seen that are positive is on joint health. You know, if you're suffering, because as you age, you can start getting joint pains and reduction, because we need collagen for our joints as well. So that's been shown that it helps with joint pains and you know, making your joints healthier. When it comes to skin, hair, nails, there is a bit of a question mark there. And I'm always very careful what I say, because some of my clients that use it have really seen a difference, even though there isn't really the like quality studies to back it up yet. People, you know, I have seen people that have really swear by it. So I think
always wondered about absorption, because that's always an issue with supplements. You know, a lot of people spend so much money on these supplements, and many times a lot of it ends up getting sloughed up in the urine. It's not absorbed by the body. So I'm thinking, okay, well, if that's happening with collagen, are there food sources and things that we can eat that can help increase our collagen?
Yeah, one of the great products, obviously, if you don't eat meat, this isn't for you, but bone broth. That is amazing for collagen. And you can just make that at home with, you know, if you eat meat, if you've got bone, you just put it in a slow cooker and cook it for around 8 hours. And you get more of it like a bouillon, and you can just drink that. That's very, very rich in collagen. But you want to be eating things like tinned salmon, sardines, you know, that still have bones that is very, very good for collagen. But yeah, I agree with you. When you think of the absorption of collagen, okay, you know, that it's going into the gut, into the intestine, it most likely will be absorbed some of it will be absorbed into the circulation. But, you know, it's not all of a sudden going to say, oh, hold on a minute, I'm going to go to the skin. You know, it's just going to be in the circulation as, you know, collagen. But like I say, there's a bit of a question mark there, because some clients and friends of mine that use it have seen a difference. But then I think you've got the placebo effect as well, haven't you? If you take something and you think that it's going to be helping, then it does, which is great.
Our minds are very powerful, and so much of what goes on with our overall health and how we adapt as we begin to get older has to do with mindset. Tell us a little bit about that, because I know you talk about that when it comes to mindset, menopause, and even skincare. How do those all marry?
Yeah, the mindset is key, and it's difficult, isn't it? Because when you're coming into menopause, you can actually feel terrible. You've got all these hormones all over the place. You can have various different symptoms. And, you know, it's very easy for me to sit here and say, oh, well, you should embrace this phase positively, which does make a difference if you can. You know, if you're positive, it reduces stress, it makes you happier. But I think it's like you have to be mindful of how you talk and your kind of self-talk, how you talk to yourself and how you think, because it's very easy to get kind of whirlwind down into this tunnel, isn't it, of negativity. Oh, I feel terrible. Oh, I've got this, I've got that. And I think it becomes even worse when you're with your friends, which, you know, I'm not saying that it's good, isn't it, to be able to talk and get it off your chest and everything. But mindset is key. And it's also, you know, there's a huge connection between our brain and there's a very interesting science that's relatively new, where they're looking at, how your thoughts and how you think and feel affects your skin.
Interesting. Well, you know how they talk about worry lines. That's the first thing that came to my mind. When you're worried or upset about something, or when you're crying or whatever, your muscles are engaged in a different way than they would be if you were smiling. But that's amazing. I could see it's really interesting because as a holistic practitioner myself, I believe in a holistic approach, mind, body, spirit, that all of that comes into play when it comes to being well. So if you were to give women in midlife some tips on things they need to be looking at to maintain good skin health, what would that be?
Yeah, it's multifactorial. You need to be looking at, it's a bit like a jigsaw, isn't it? Exactly as you said with the holistic approach. Look at the nutrition piece. One very simple thing: hydrate, drink water. It might sound very basic, but it is it is really important for skin health and for overall health. Remove processed foods, ultra processed foods, and eat whole foods. That is really crucial. And then when it comes to looking after your skin, as far as products go, that there's an array of different products that you can use. And I think it's very individual depending on how much time you've got and how interested you are in products. But one key thing is to protect your skin from the sun.
Mm.
Using a sun protection factor, and research is saying with a minimum of a SPF 30.
Mm.
And these days, quality day creams have sun protection factor in, so you don't need to be using a separate day cream. But it's very important all the time, really, but especially as we age as women, because so many things start happening with the skin due to the decline in estrogen and progesterone. We can start, these pigmentations can start appearing. We can suddenly get, these fine lines and wrinkles. So sun protection, and then moisture. We really need moisture because that's key. So like moisturizing night creams, masks, all of those wonderful products. And then, if it's your thing, then there's fantastic treatment. If you go to a professional esthetician, there's wonderful facial and body treatments that you can have that not only improve your skin, but they're very relaxing as well. They make you, relax and feel very pampered, which is important.
What about the people as they get older, their skin begins to change and they get this patchy skin? One part of their skin's oily, maybe around their nose or whatever, and then it's really, really dry underneath their eyes, normal on top, pimply at the bottom. You get this plethora of skin ailments that come at different times, but it's definitely something that you can correlate to midlife. Are there any things that you would suggest that they could do to kind of even out some of those issues?
It's finding the right products for your skin. So I think, and I see so much that women are using products that are wrong for their skin type because they maybe have read somewhere or somebody just briefly said, oh, these are okay for you. But you need to go to a professional and for them to look at your skin under a magnifier and really, advise you on what's best for you. But it's all about balancing your skin,
Right.
and moisture is key. Even if you find that you're oilier, you still need moisture because oily skin is an overproduction of sebum, which is the oil on the skin. Hydration is water in the skin that we all need, and drinking water, eating healthily, all of that piece helps to balance your skin if you find that you're having breakouts or dry hair.
I have to share with you my skin regime. You tell me what you think. I created my own little concoction after my experience in Dallas because it scared me so much because I literally woke up one day and I had wrinkles. And I found out later through my research that it was just dead skin that I need to get rid of through a good scrub. So I started, creating my own scrubs, and I use a brown sugar scrub. I use brown sugar, raw brown sugar, and then white sugar granules. The only time I use sugar, for the abrasiveness, and then I mix that with olive oil and lavender and rose, not rose geranium, but rose, because lavender has healing essential oils. You have to make sure they're essential, not stuff that you buy at the grocery store, get the real stuff, but it has healing modalities, both the lavender and the rose. So I started using that, and immediately, I wouldn't say the wrinkles went away immediately, but that gray pallor went away because I got rid of the dead skin. And then I used coconut oil, avocado oil, and olive oil along with my rose, my lavender, and vetiver in a little clear bottle. Shake it up. I put it on in the morning and or at night and wash. It takes because the coconut oil takes off makeup, so it takes off the makeup and all that stuff. And then I use it as a moisturizer when I go to bed. It's kind of oily, because my desk has all these olive oil imprints on it because I use it on my body. I use it everywhere. And that's what I use. Now, for some people, they say that, well, that's just too oily for my skin, because maybe they already have oily skin. And I think I might have had, combination to dry skin after my experience in Dallas. But for me, it absorbs my skin. It just sinks it in. Now, there's some days where my skin, even after I do that, it's still a little dry. And so I use a little bit extra more water because I don't dry my face. I, use this concoction, I rinse it with water, and then I let it air dry. Sometimes I need to go back and put more water on, and then it seems to be fine. So what are your thoughts about all of that?
Yeah, interesting. I mean, I'm a big fan of aromatherapy oils. Good quality aromatherapy oils are fantastic. They're so healing and can be used in many different ways in holistic massage and products. But no, I mean, if it's so individual, isn't it? If it works for you, and it obviously does because your skin looks amazing, then great. And I think peeling the skin, that's a good point that you brought up, that we need to exfoliate the skin because our skin is...
Should we do that?
Roughly around twice a week.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Especially if you do suffer from dry skin, definitely twice a week. If you find your skin is more on the oily side, then once a week is enough. But there's an array of so many different products to peel the skin. Alpha hydroxy acids, which are very effective on peeling the skin because they help to break down the bonds and remove the dead skin. Because when you remove the dead skin, it helps with cell renewal because your cells are renewing. It's kind of like they're going up, they're renewing all the time. So as we get older, this cell renewal slows down. So we want to kind of stimulate that. So peeling the skin makes your products work better because you haven't got that layer of dead skin. And it helps with cell renewal, and it also gives you that glow. It's really important to peel the skin with a product, not especially during menopause. I wouldn't advise any sort of harsh products. Be careful that you don't buy anything that's got really abrasive corn or corns in or some of those things. Always go to an esthetician and ask and buy quality products. That's really my advice.
Is there anything we should be looking at when it comes to the labels that are big no-nos for midlife skin? You look at the label and you say, oh, I shouldn't do that.
I think really there's so many fantastic products on the market now, really real quality products. When it comes to ingredients, I always say to people, just look on the back. If there's loads of things on there, different chemicals and preservatives and, ingredients that you may be asked, why is that in there? Then, try and get something as natural as possible, I would suggest. But there's not any major ingredients that I can think of that you should avoid specifically for midlife. It's just making sure that you're using quality products. Ingredients like hyaluronic acid are wonderful because it's a moisture binding ingredients. It's naturally in the skin, but products that contain hyaluronic acid are wonderful for women as we age. And retinol in A.
Yeah, let me ask you about that because that's another thing I see at the grocery stores. I see them at the grocery stores and I see them behind the counter in department stores. I see them on Amazon, all that. What is retinol And how does it help our skin? And how do we source it? Where should we go for it? I hear you say esthetician is a good point, but first of all, what is it? And why is it important?
Retinol is vitamin A, basically. And vitamin A has, amongst other things, has a peeling effect on the skin. So it's very rejuvenating. It also has a rebalancing effect. So it can be used. There's many different strengths of it and different products that contain retinol. So it can be used on people that have breakouts or even acne skin to help to rebalance the skin. But it's very good for anti-aging. And what I would suggest is if you're not used to using retinol, one thing that you absolutely shouldn't do is go out in the sun with these products on your skin. It's something that you would use in the evening as a nighttime product. And also, I mean, you should be wearing a sunscreen all the time anyway, but even more so if you're using retinol products, because you're exfoliating the skin and the skin can become more sensitive. If you haven't used retinol before, just take it easy in the beginning, maybe twice a week to start with. You kind of have to build up. Otherwise, your skin can become quite sensitive. And again, there's so many different products there. I would talk to somebody that understands the skin rather than just buying something off the shelf, because maybe it's the wrong strength for your skin type. Maybe it's too harsh. So, just be careful. It's a fantastic ingredients, but I think you have to give it a little bit of respect.
Okay. Now, I got this one last question to ask you because I think that people really need to be thinking about this. We are coffee drinkers. We love a little bit of glass of wine in the evening, and maybe we're not sleeping as much as we should be. And, we might eat some fresh vegetables every once in a while, but we might skip that and eat a pizza instead. How is all of that overall impacting our skin? Is it impacting our skin even more so as we age? Or is that just an old wives' tale?
No, it impacts everything really, all of those things that you've said, and it does impact your skin, because when you're eating those sort of things, I mean, everything's okay occasionally, isn't it? I realise that we have to have a life. You can't,
Right.
but you have to have everything in moderation. It's okay to have that pizza occasionally, but not every day. But when you eat like processed foods or the junk foods as they're called, you're not sleeping, you're maybe stressed, it creates this this build up of stress, of blood sugar balance. Your blood sugar will be high, you're not sleeping, which it's like this vicious circle, because when you're not sleeping you actually crave carbohydrates. So it all becomes this vicious circle, and these foods and caffeine it increases blood sugar. It makes you anxious, stops you sleeping. You really have to look after yourself, and these sort of foods that you mentioned aren't going to help you, because you're not going to be sleeping well. You're going to be stressed, so you'll see it in the skin.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now, I know you have some things coming up that could be very helpful for women when it comes to their skincare. Tell us a little bit about the events that you're going to be sponsoring over the next few months.
Yeah, I have something very exciting actually that I've been working on for the last year, my 21-day reboot and reset program. It's a 21-day reboot and reset for women over 40, revive your body and brain for renewed energy and focus. So it's a wonderful 21 days where we're really focusing on foods. There's a meal plan, shopping list, very easy to follow. We're going to work on sleep. We're going to work on stress, sugar, how to reduce sugar out of your diet. And it starts on the 24th of June. So.
Okay. All right. And actually, we're recording this in May of 2024. And I promised Alison I would get this out as soon as possible so that you could take advantage of it. And Alison, I don't know if I have the links, but I will get the links that will lead to your reboot so people could sign up, because even though you are in Europe, you have a virtual practice and anybody can participate in this reboot, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I work with clients all over the world. I actually have a lot of clients in the US. So yeah, everybody is welcome.
Fantastic. I'm going to make sure that we have that information there. And thank you so much for all the knowledge. I could talk to you forever. I have 50 million questions about some other stuff. We're going to have to bring you back, but thank you so much for being on the V.I.B.E Living podcast. It's been wonderful having you here today.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's been lovely talking to you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And thank you to all of you who have chosen to listen to the V.I.B.E Living podcast. I know there's lots of other places you could be listening to the podcast. So coming by and listening to some of the premier experts in the field of overall mind, body, spirit wellness for women over 40 is just a fantastic way to spend your time. So come on back and please like, share, comment, and subscribe to the podcast. And if you're not doing this already, please follow me on my social media. All of that's on the show page because I'm easy to find. I'm V.I.B.E Wellness Woman on Instagram. So follow me on Instagram, and there you'll find a lot of information about what's going on in the world of V.I.B.E. And be staying tuned because probably by the time you listen to this, my new website, my membership website, which is called the V.I.B.E Wellness Woman Network, will have launched. And look on the show page there, and you can go ahead and sign up to be notified once that website launches. I've been working on this for about 5 years. I keep putting it off, and decided that for my 67th year and my 17th year in business, something about the sevens, huh? 7 is completion. I've decided that I definitely wanted to make this launch. And it's just going to be a website that has all the curated content of topics that I have talked about over the years, everything from skincare to diabetes to mindset to empty nest syndrome. It's going to be there. We're going to have wonderful experts coming in to visit us and do live discussions. I'm really excited about it. So be looking for it. You can go to vibewellnesswoman.com and sign up that way because the actual URL hasn't launched yet, but it'll be launching soon. So just stay tuned. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. Have a fantastic day. And don't forget to vibe. Bye-bye, everybody.